Imagine waking up one morning and discovering that the world's largest economies had quietly begun trading without relying on the US dollar. No emergency press conference, no breaking news countdown, no dramatic announcement. Yet behind closed doors, a financial transformation has been taking shape. For more than 50 years, the US dollar has been the backbone of global trade. Oil, natural gas, food, electronics, and even international loans have largely flowed through a dollar-centered financial system. Of that system sits SWIFT, the messaging network that connects thousands of banks across the globe. But today, a growing group of nations, known as BRICS, is working to reduce its dependence on that system. Instead of replacing the dollar overnight, these countries are building new payment networks, expanding trade in local currencies, and creating alternatives that could gradually reshape international commerce. Supporters call it financial independence. Critics see it as a challenge to the existing global order. So what exactly is BRICS Pay? Why are countries investing in it? Could this change the balance of economic power, or will the dollar remain king? The answers are far more complex than the headlines suggest. To understand why BRICS wants alternatives, we first need to understand how the dollar became so dominant. After World War II, the United States emerged as the world's largest economy. Under the Bretton Woods system, many global currencies were tied to the dollar, while the dollar itself was linked to gold. Even after that system ended in the 1970s, the dollar retained its central role because of the size of the U.S. economy, deep financial markets, and confidence in American institutions. Today, a significant share of international trade is still invoiced or settled in U.S. dollars, even when the United States isn't directly involved. Central banks around the world also hold large portions of their foreign exchange reserves in dollars. This dominance creates efficiencies, but it also gives the United States substantial influence. Financial sanctions, restrictions on dollar transactions, and access to global banking infrastructure can have major geopolitical consequences. For countries seeking greater financial autonomy, reducing dependence on a single currency is increasingly attractive. That doesn't necessarily mean replacing the dollar, it may simply mean having more options. And that's where the BRICS strategy begins. Notwithstanding increasing interest in it, BRICS Pay is frequently perceived incorrectly. Instead of being a substitute for SWIFT and/or creating another world currency, BRICS Pay should be considered as a project aimed at simplifying cross-border payments among countries included in it and making these transactions less dependent on current financial infrastructure dominated by Western countries. The idea is that financial institutions and companies should be able to conduct settlements in their national currencies as much as possible. At the same time, a number of BRICS members are expanding bilateral trade agreements in local currencies and are exploring opportunities of connections of their payment systems. This tendency is typical for the whole world and can be explained by the desire to create a multipolar financial world. It is too early to say whether BRICS Pay would become an influential global platform. Its success would depend on a number of factors, including adoption rate, interoperability, regulatory framework, technology, and trust. However, one thing is certain. Nowadays, there is not only one topic discussed when it comes to international payments. And the following chapter explains why. If the American currency has been working for global trade throughout decades, what makes nations invest billions into developing substitutes? The reason is hidden in geopolitics rather than economics. Financial sanctions have become an influential component of foreign policy over the last 2 decades. When nations or banks are unable to use particular sections of the global financial system, international trade slows down, becomes more expensive, and sometimes practically impossible. It has led many nations to believe that depending on the only major payment network carries serious risks. Each of BRICS nations has its own motivation to create alternatives to SWIFT. China wants to increase the presence of the yuan in the international trade. India wishes to have more independence and maintain good ties with the East and the West. Brazil plans to cut costs of transactions in regional trade. Due to being under the Western sanctions, Russia has developed alternative payments faster. South Africa sees chances to improve trade links with developing countries. Despite different purposes, they all are united by one idea of having several payment options instead of depending on one only. It does not mean the end of the dollar, but means the creation of several parallel financial networks. Can BRICS Pay replace SWIFT? The short answer is not today. SWIFT is not a bank, and it doesn't actually move money. It is a secure messaging network used by thousands of financial institutions across more than 200 countries and territories to send standardized payment instructions. Its scale, reliability, and global acceptance have been built over decades. BRICS Pay is a much newer initiative with a different objective. Rather than immediately replacing SWIFT worldwide, it aims to make payments among participating countries more efficient and support settlements in local currencies where appropriate. Even if BRICS Pay grows successfully, replacing a deeply established global network would require years of technical integration, legal agreements, cybersecurity standards, and trust from banks and businesses. History shows that dominant financial systems rarely disappear overnight. Instead, they evolve as new competitors emerge. The real story may not be whether BRICS Pay defeats SWIFT, but whether it becomes one of several major payment networks in an increasingly multipolar financial world. So, is the US dollar finished? The evidence today says no. The dollar remains the world's leading reserve currency, deeply embedded in global trade, finance, and investment. Its position is supported by decades of market confidence, institutional strength, and widespread international use. What is changing is the landscape around it. BRICS countries and many other nations are exploring additional payment systems, expanding local currency trade, and seeking greater financial flexibility. These efforts don't automatically end dollar dominance, but they do signal a shift toward a more diversified global financial system. History teaches us that economic power evolves gradually. The future may not be defined by one winner replacing another, but by several systems competing and coexisting. Whether BRICS Pay becomes a major force or remains a regional initiative will depend on adoption, trust, technology, and global cooperation. One thing is certain: the battle over the future of international payments has already begun, and its outcome will shape trade, investment, and geopolitics for decades to come. If you enjoyed this deep dive, subscribe for more documentaries exploring the forces transforming the global economy.